Looking back in hindsight, it's absolutely insane. What I'm 19, 20, making millions of dollars, getting millions of views, attention. You feel invincible and like, oh, I can do anything and whatever. And it took me a long time to realize how wrong I was.
When did you realize that you needed to make a change?
He is the problem child, Jake El Gallo Paul!
You think that people doubted you more as a boxer?
Everyone said, no way can this kid box and beat someone up, and like he's just like a Disney princess. I take everything I do very, very seriously and I'm very competitive. So when I went into boxing, it was no different. I have two main goals: definitely becoming world champion, and I want to exit a company for $1 billion.
I feel like in terms of upping the stakes with boxing, are you ever going to fight Logan?
I haven't really announced it yet, but
Jake, thank you so much for coming on the Iced Coffee Hour. Really, really appreciate it.
of course, yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So I'm curious, what was your first big paycheck that made you realize that you've made it?
That's good. Well, honestly, the one that comes to mind is I made like $400 when I was 16 off of a Vine post. They like paid me $400 for this app to promote this game. It was called like Bubble Jump or something. And to me, $400 for like making a 6-second video, I thought I was like the richest person ever. Went right to the mall, bought some LeBron Christmas edition shoes, and then this like big watch, and didn't have any money after that. I was down to zero.
Watch.
Yeah, it was
The
like
bigger
this,
the watch, the more expensive it is.
it was like this Diesel. I don't know if you know this brand Diesel. They have these
at
big,
the mall, right?
Yeah,
Like
at the
the
mall.
brands.
And I was like, dude, I'm balling. But that was like the first one where I was like, I can't believe I just made, because I was landscaping for $10 an hour, and only on the weekends or something, like, so I could only get like 2 jobs in and make like $100, whatever. But this was definitely memorable. But I would say after that, like a actual big paycheck, I think was after I started selling merch while I was daily vlogging. I think the first month I sold merch, I made like 400,000 or something, and I just couldn't believe it after that.
How did that compare to YouTube ad revenue at the time?
It was exponentially bigger. I think my channel never had a good CPM just because I was doing crazy stuff. And so I think they limited the ads that were being run on my channel. I think the most I ever made in a month off of YouTube was 400,000, but I was getting 400 million views in a month. So it's like a $1 CPM basically.
Now, you're extremely competitive, I've noticed. Do you think that's something you're born with, or were you raised that way?
I think there's a little bit of nature and a little bit of nurture for sure in that. I mean, definitely my mom is super competitive, and watching her and her family, and they were, all athletes. My great grandpa was the NFL quarterback. And it's funny, I was like going to fight Mike Tyson. They bring us to the locker room. He played for the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm like looking around the locker room, and I forgot that he played for the Cowboys. And I see my great grandpa on the locker room, like right before I'm about to fight Mike Tyson, which was crazy. But we had a whole family of athletes. And I think seeing my mom and how competitive she was playing tennis really rubbed off on me. And then having an older brother that you're always beefing with, and I'm doing this better, I'm doing that better. My dad was always pushing us in football. But I also do feel in my soul that the way I was born, whatever I am, whoever I was, my soul is, I think, wanted to achieve more and do big things. So I think there's a little bit of both of nature and nurture.
You've been vocal about humble beginnings, being raised in a split household, what would you say are some of the positive and negative things that you learned from each parent that you still use today?
Yeah, I mean, the positive from my dad, first off, is hard work. He still works incredibly hard. It's just who he is, and he genuinely enjoys it. And he instilled that in me and my brother. We genuinely enjoy hard work, which I think is very rare. I love completing a task. I love having a big task in front of me. It started with, cleaning out a hoarder's house, roofing, odd jobs, landscaping, painting houses, just helping our dad do his like blue collar work. And we just loved the process of it. And it was very rewarding to complete a task. And then I would say my mom she was a nurse for, 30, 40 years. And she's very caring and giving and empathetic and loves helping people. So I would say that is something that I learned from her. And I love just being there for my friends, my fiance, whatever it is. I would say those are probably the two positive traits. And then I guess you asked about the negatives.
If there's any negative.
I mean, I would say my dad was in the army, and so he has that like militant style of parenting, and I would say that comes into my life where like I sometimes forget to smell the flowers and enjoy life. Like everything's like next task, get this done, work. And I think that can like take emotions out of your life and like you're just a human doing and not a human being. And so I think that is something that I've had to shed and to not be, I treat myself like in that militant manner, which has brought a ton of success, but I think also it can void emotions sometimes. So I've had to like shed that skin and just be proud of myself, learn to love myself more, and then to also treat people on my team. Sometimes I notice if I'm like tired and hungry, I'll start to like turn into my dad with like yelling. I'm like, bro, what the I can't do that. But it's my default settings. And so and by the way, to be a CEO, entrepreneur, have multiple businesses, you kind of have to have that not care to hurt people's feelings side, but there is a better way to go about it. I mean, you kind of do have to be, it's a fine line. Like, how do you be the leader, keep everyone intact, but still be nice? It's a hard tightrope to walk.
How do you learn those skills? Is it just trial and error?
I think trial and error. I'm still learning, and I'm young too. So it's like having to figure that out. And just, just feeling it within yourself. Like, dang, was I too mean? Was I too this, whatever? And then it's also seeing how people respond, but definitely just years and years of experience is really, really the only way. And it's definitely hard sometimes because I also care. I'm friends with a lot of the people I work with, like best friends, family. It's really a family at this point. So it's kind of hard to play both sides sometimes. Like everything's mixed into one because we just are always together, training, filming, traveling, all of these things.
Who do you go to for advice outside of your family?
I don't have somebody. I thought about this the other day. I've never had like a mentor. I don't know. I just don't like to ask for help.
Do you watch YouTube videos? How do you learn about like what to do if you're stuck at a crossroad in business?
I guess I've just done it myself and like figured it out. I do have, my business partner and manager, Nikisa, and then also I would say my business partner in my fund, Jeff Wu. Those are two of the smartest people I know. And so I guess I do have those conversations with them. But I've never had like some sort of mentor or something. I think what I'm doing is so new and different. There's like no one who can really give me advice on it. Like I feel like I'm the best person to talk to, this new age of digital marketing, social media, content, creativity, building businesses, promoting boxing, selling fights, like all of this whole world is still like the Wild West. So I don't know.
You've definitely managed pretty much any platform you decided to go on and like really mastered it. Even on Vine, like what was the first Vine you did that really blew up? And then what made you want to continue growing it?
Yeah, I think me and my brother had a YouTube channel, and so we just filmed videos for fun. It was like a hobby. We loved it, enjoyed it, did it for a couple of years, and then Vine came out. And so naturally I just started making Vines because I enjoyed video editing and creating and coming up with the ideas and all of that stuff. And then the first video if you remember on Vine, you had to touch the screen to record. And so we used the assistive touch bubble thing to like touch the screen and made it seem like the phone dropped down the stairs, but then like we were the ones to catch it. So people were like, how did you record this without touching the screen? And that's what made it go viral. And then we got a little bit of taste of like the quality or the level of video had to be for it to go viral. And that kind of unlocked like, okay, we need to go harder. We need to try more at this. But I think Logan gained like 6,000 followers. I gained like 3,000. And we were like, dude, we're famous. Like, this is it. Like, we're the coolest people in the world.
Did people start treating you differently at school?
At first, everyone loved it. Like, my high school was supportive of it until it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, like, that's when the jealousy of the peers came in. But I think we realized we were good at it. And then it was fun. And then we went viral. So it was like our first time going viral. And that was like a dopamine rush. And we were like, this is really cool. We can keep on doing this. And really just never stopped since that day.
How did the jealousy portray itself? Like, what did you start noticing?
Oh, man. Dude, it was crazy. Like, people were tweeting all the time, just talking, saying things about me, saying my videos are cringe. There was like this anonymous account that would just go off on me every single day. And, you know, in high school, if you get like 1 or 2 favorites on a tweet, that's like normal. Anytime someone would tweet about me, it would get like 30, 40, 50 favorites. Some of them would get like 100. So the whole school was like turning against me. These girls like made another fake account about me, and in person people were like saying, and then just like ostracizing me, Facebook pages, like all sorts of and it got to a point where like I showed my mom one of the tweets from like someone who I thought was my friend, and she like called up their mom and was like, what the is wrong with your kid? Like, we go to lunches together. Like, she was friends with the mom, and like these kids were just ripping me apart, which, you know, like I don't know. It was just like weird to go through, especially because at first they were supportive and wanted to be in the videos, and then it just turned into this whole like Jake Paul train essentially. And
how does it change your mindset? Like being a teenager and having to go through that, I feel like you would either shut down or you would like be discouraged from trying more, or that might hold you back.
It made me like want to go harder. And once people found out I was going to LA, I remember one kid said to me, he was like, you're never gonna make it in LA. Like, you're gonna go there, try to be like auditioning, and then you're gonna end up back here. And I was like, what does that say about you? Like, you're already just back here. So like, why can't I like go? Even if I go and try and fail, we're going to be ending up in the same spot. And also my teachers were a part of it, which is why I have beef with teachers. But my principal was ganged up against me. He was like, you trying to get me to not film Vines anymore and like delete my account. And he hated me and was trying to like figure out ways to suspend me. My teachers would like gang up on me and talk and basically like torment me and say that like I'm never gonna do anything with this career and that I shouldn't drop out and what is it that you're doing? And
Who are your biggest believers, though? Who was on your side, like rooting for you? Was a single teacher on your side, like
not
your
not a
parents,
single
Logan?
teacher. No, my parents were on my side. Logan was on my side, and Logan was experiencing the same at Ohio University. So the frats wouldn't let him into parties. Like he was going through the same thing. So at least we could like relate in that sense. And I had about 7 to 8 friends in high school that were still on my side that like helped me film all my videos. So shout out to those people, but it was like us against the rest of the school. Like we would sit at a table and we basically like created our own squad. But it is pretty bizarre, like thinking back, like I think mostly for the teachers. I understand the kids hating and being jealous, and they're just my age. They're not emotionally mature. They don't know the impact they're having. But I think that's why just don't understand like teachers trying to block a kid's dream and ripping them down and all this stuff. But that whole school is just a show of a school, to be honest. Like it's crazy has happened there. So
How important was your competitive nature with your brother at the time? Would you say that was one of the main things that kind of kept you and kept him going?
Now, really quick, before we go into that, I just want to say, if it hasn't been evident so far, short-form content has been one of the biggest drivers of growth for the Iced Coffee Hour. After every episode, like this one with Jake Paul, we take the best moments and turn them into clips for YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. But let's be honest, it takes a lot of time to do it correctly. That's why tools like our sponsor, OpusClip, are a game changer.
OpusClip isn't just a clipping tool anymore, though. It's a full AI-powered video editor built for creators. It can automatically find your long-form YouTube videos, find the best moments, add captions, B-roll, and even schedule clips to post while you're away. It's like having an entire editing team, but powered by AI. Top creators like Mark Rober, Jubilee, and Darman are already using it, and we use it too. I mean, see this clip that Togi's reacting to? It was made with OpusClip.
And right now, they're celebrating their 2-year anniversary with a huge giveaway. They're handing out a $5,000 cash prize, exclusive swag, and even a MacBook Pro to one lucky winner.
And everyone who joins gets free credits just for participating. All you gotta do is head to opus.pro/clip-the-future right now to learn more and enter the contest. Again, that is opus.pro/clip-the-future. We also have a link down below in the description. You can just click it there. So worth it, guys. I highly recommend it. Thank you so much to OpusClip for sponsoring this episode.
I would say we didn't really become competitive until I was like 19 and he was like 21. I think like right around when we both started YouTube was when the competitiveness really came out of us for whatever reason. We both started vlogging and we were both growing really fast. And I think we both wanted to be the biggest vlogger. And so I think in that whole ecosystem, we are getting older, I think trying to prove ourselves, and that's when things got kind of crazy.
It was a really special time on YouTube. I just have to say, when you and Logan were doing the daily vlogs, Casey Neistat was doing the vlogs, like 2016, 2017, that's when I started. And there was something really cool about it still feeling new in a sense. When did you realize that YouTube was going to be the next big opportunity?
Yeah, man, I miss those days. That was the peak internet, man. Things kind of suck nowadays, but I think I was super passionate about Team 10, and I think influencers and that whole world was starting to be recognized by the rest of the world, and so you could feel this energy where influencers were like kind of the new celebrities or people who have the most attention, and it felt like it was just starting to blow up then. And TikTok was kind of also starting to go crazy, or Musically, it was still at the time, but you could just feel we were doing something different and something special, and no one had ever garnered the amount of views that me and my brother were getting as vloggers. And so I just knew it was this big movement. I guess just one thing led to another, and just going from platform to platform. Just because as a creator you had to adapt, and the new wave was to go to YouTube. It was Vine, then Facebook, then it was like Snapchat for a little bit, and then everyone started vlogging, and then that's where things really took off.
I do remember that was the time when things really started to go mainstream, and then you had Bizarrevark, like a side quest going on at the same time. That opportunity come from YouTube, and what was it like going from like traditional media there to doing a vlog channel?
Yeah, so I had been auditioning in Los Angeles basically since when I moved there. And so I had agents and stuff who would send me auditions, and I got the opportunity to audition for this Disney show. It was basically a show about social media, like kind of like an iCarly spinoff. And as soon as I auditioned, they pretty much immediately loved me for it. I had to audition a couple more times, but eventually got the role. And that was always the goal moving to Los Angeles. One part of it was, okay, all these creators are in LA. We're going to go there, collaborate with them, grow our brands, do more brand deals. And then the other part of it was traditional entertainment. Like, we want to be actors. We want to do business, growing our careers in general. And so it was definitely felt like a big accomplishment to be in mainstream media on Disney Channel. I think it's one of the craziest moments of my life. And I think it validated what I was doing and why I was there. And it definitely put my career on another level. So
Was it pretty lucrative? Like, would you get paid a lot per episode?
no, not at all. We would get paid like $10,000 an episode.
Okay, well that's not bad. Like, how long would it take for you to film an episode?
It would take 6 days and like 10, 12 hours a day.
Oh, really?
So
it's a week.
It's a week.
It's a week's worth of work.
Yeah.
Full-time work.
Yeah. You're doing like 15 episodes in a row. I mean, yeah, it just depends how you like,
Well,
look
probably
at
when you
money. But like,
you
if
compare
you're
it to YouTube.
if you're living in California and you're getting 10,000 episode, and then that's like 5,000 after taxes, and so, and then I'm making more money on YouTube doing brand deals and stuff. So that is part of the reason why in the long run it just didn't work out. I was spending so much time there. I didn't want to really be there anymore, and it would have been multiple seasons of filming, and I didn't feel like valued or anything, and I was still making the same amount of money, and I was just kind of like, I'm making my whole season's worth of Disney Channel, like selling merch in a couple of days.
What was the real reason why you got fired from the Disney Channel?
I just started to be a little bit too much for them in terms of their image. Like, I think the Everyday Bro song was kind of the start of that. And I just would ask them like why I needed to be on set for so long to film one scene. Like, why can't we just film it right now? And I can just go home, and they would make me like sit there for 6, 7, 8 hours. And I eventually realized like they needed to like film my hands for some scene, and they needed me to like stay there for like 6 hours so they could film my hands grabbing it. I'm like, just film someone else's hands. I'm going home. And I just like left. And so I just started to do my own thing, and it just wasn't working. I was filming kind of crazy stuff in my vlogs, and I was growing up and exploding stuff in my backyard, and like I just didn't fit the Disney brand. And so
did that help the ratings of the show? Like, I would imagine a lot of people find you and then like, oh wow, he's on the Disney Channel. Did that help viewership?
I don't know. I feel like it was almost two separate audiences, because I have people come up to me now that are like 14, and they're like, I watched you on Bizarrevark. So I think at the time they were probably like 6 or 7. And I feel like my YouTube audience was like 15 to 25 more so. So I felt like it was kind of two different audiences.
Now, I remember on YouTube, it seemed very chaotic, like lighting a mattress on fire in the backyard by the pool, holes in the wall. Like, how much of that was calculated?
Not a lot. Like, imagine you just start on a treadmill, and you're just running, and like every day, just the speed goes up like point one, and eventually you're just going 1,000 miles per hour, and things are just happening, and everyone's sort of in this collective energy of chaos and all this stuff. And um, at the time, dude, I'm 19, 20, making millions of dollars, getting millions of views, attention. You feel invincible and like, oh, I can do anything and whatever. And rightfully so. You're living in a house. There's no supervision around. There's no one to tell you like, hey, this might be a bad idea or whatever. And so looking back in hindsight, it's absolutely insane that I moved to Los Angeles, made millions of dollars, started a company with creators all moved into a house, creating insane content every single day. So it was definitely very crazy, but you film the video, and then your mindset is just like, great, upload, like what's next? It was like in this never-ending treadmill, essentially.
Did you ever have any real life consequences to the shenanigans that you got up to on your YouTube channel? Like neighbors, I know that was a bit of an issue for some time, or something where there was like a lawsuit and you were just like, okay, I'm done. Like I actually regret the decision there, or was it always just like thinking about growth, the next video at all costs?
I mean, so much lawsuits, legal happened that I just basically like couldn't film videos anymore. I was banned from filming in LA County for 2 years. So
What?
I literally had to
Who
like
banned you?
Los Angeles.
For what?
They were like threatening the arson charges and stuff over me. For my friend actually is the one who like lit the mattress technically in the backyard. So they were like holding these arson charges over my head to try to get me to stop filming, which is why I moved to Calabasas, because that was outside of LA County. So, I mean, lawsuits, so many things, landlords suing, neighbors. I don't know. I don't even remember like all the different lawsuits, but basically it sucked the fun out of everything, and filming just wasn't fun anymore. I couldn't do any like of the creative ideas because I would basically have this lawyer essentially watch every video before I posted it, and then we would like have to take out any little thing that people could pick apart. And so like filming just wasn't fun anymore. And even now it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like Jake Paul jumped on a news van, like, and said, what are those to the news guy? Like people
Forgot about that.
seriously hated me for that. And when I look at it now, it's like what people didn't realize about me, and even still to this day, I like put entertainment as number one. So if everyone can joke and laugh and get a kick out of it, like I'm an entertainer, and that's where I think people have a lack of respect and like me being dedicated to the game. Like if you hate me, that's fine, but like I'm going to choose the route and path of entertainment. I look back at the news clip and I'm like, that's hilarious. Still to this day.
I thought it was hilarious.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. The what are those?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why are people so mad?
Who was most mad at you? Was it a certain community? Was it people's parents? Because they're like, this guy is a bad influence on my child. Is it the local media?
I don't think it was parents. I think it was like 35-year-olds or so, and maybe older people who like didn't understand it. To me, it's like still funny.
I'm curious, what did you cut out? Like, what did you want to film that the lawyer said you can't do that?
Every day it would pretty much be like one thing that would seem like so silly, but it would come down to I would be in the car filming and like vlogging, and I would call my friend, to see what's going on at the house, like whatever bit we were filming. And it's like, no, you can't be on a call while you're driving. Like it got that serious. All this little you know, I would drive my Lambo like fast down a street and it's like, "Oh, you were going 70 in a 35. Like, you can't put that in the video." It just became a headache to the point where I just got sick of just my whole world and life, and I was like, "This isn't even fun anymore. I'm just getting sued. Everyone's so sensitive." YouTube was demonetizing like half my videos because they were becoming more, you know, progressive,
Yeah.
and all their advertisers would be like, "We can't have this," so,
Do you think that was ever sustainable? Because you talk about like amping it up point one, like every day. And I understand that perfectly. I posted 3 videos a week, every week for like 6 years.
yeah,
And every video I thought had to be a little better than the one prior. I knew it was unsustainable.
yeah.
So like how long do you think someone or you could push through that?
Yeah, no, I at the time, like, while I was in the heat of it, I was like, "This is gonna go on for years." But as it sort of went on and I had to move and couldn't film in LA County, and the whole business of, like, Team 10, it just didn't work out. Being, like, teenagers living together and filming, there's too much pride, ego, emotions, parents, other managers pulling people away. So, eventually, I knew I wouldn't be daily vlogging anymore, and that was probably about, like, 6 or 7 or 8 months before I stopped. But deep down, like, I knew I was good at YouTube, and I definitely liked it, but I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do forever.
When you were making crazy money at a young age, what were you doing with it? Were you spending it, investing it? Did you have people telling you what to do with your money?
No, man, like, I had to figure it out on my own. I think, a lot of it would be, like, put back into the videos. Like, I would spend maybe 2 to 3 grand a day just coming up with different things, and then obviously buying, like, the Team 10 mansion. But there was a point where a lot of people behind the scenes that were supposed to be good people were stealing my money and figuring out ways to, like, funnel it into different areas, and that's just the nature of being in Los Angeles. The managers, the, um, lawyers, lawsuits, all sorts of stuff, so I pretty much spent all my money on, like, it was getting stolen, lawsuits, legal stuff, and then California taxes, so basically, like, that was it. I mean, a couple of nice cars and a
Did you have
house, whatever.
savings at the time or was most of it coming in and then reinvested?
Most of it was coming in and being reinvested. But man, like, each lawsuit back then was probably like $1 million, maybe $1.5 million,
$1 million?
and I was probably in like 8 lawsuits.
That sounds like the lawyers
Holy
were kind of
shit. Did you have
No,
insurance?
for sure. No, they were
Yeah.
like charging me more per hour.
Yeah.
I can't like say the names, but there's like a firm who has stolen a bunch of money from celebrities in Los Angeles and athletes.
You
And
don't
I
want to say the
was
name because you're probably going to get sued.
no, yeah, no,
That's another $1 million.
I'm probably gonna sue them one day.
Do a class action or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, because I know other people who've gotten a lot of their money stolen from them as well. It's just insane.
Is
Like,
this why just overbilling? Is
It's-
that how we're doing this?
yeah, so basically you sign up to go with them, and then they hire 10 people to watch your account, and then these 10 people are getting like $50, $60, $75 an hour, and then they're just saying that they're like working on it a shit ton. And back then, I was filming I would basically wake up 8 o'clock, start filming at 9, done filming at like 6 or 7 p.m. I would go to the gym until like 9:30, come home, and then I was asleep at like 11. And I was just like on repeat. And so I didn't have to, I was just like, oh, I have the best people in LA watching my money. I have the best lawyers. I have good management. And then everyone's just
Wow.
stealing it.
When did you realize that you needed to make a change?
There was a point where I stopped YouTube and I was like, I'm just not doing this anymore. because I need something to be different, and I want to like go into a different career path or do something else. I forget what year that was. I think it was right when I like signed up to fight Deji for my first like amateur fight, because I just couldn't sustain training and filming every day. And then I was also like on tour. And I think after the tour, I like got back and was exhausted, and everyone on the tour like made money because I paid them. And then I realized like I lost like a couple $100,000 doing the tour. And so I was just like, dude, like this is just a lot of work. Everyone else is like gaining from this, and I'm kind of just, I'm the one taking the heat, doing the calls, being all stressed. And I was just like, dude, this like sucks. And then I like was training for the first fight against Deji, and I think it was at that point where I like put down the camera and sort of just like started living life for the first time after filming for 2.5 years, basically.
Did you have less money than you thought you had though, because of all of like the phantom drain, the money going into these
For sure.
And so like when did you realize, oh my gosh, I have way less than I expected?
It was like around that time.
And then that was probably a big stressor among like taking these calls, and the time suck, and you're like, okay, I gotta.
Yeah, I was like, basically I did all this work for the past however many years for like to basically have nothing, essentially. So it just was like depressing, to be honest. Like I was just like, oh, this, and all the stress, like still had lawsuits, still had all these random things going on. So I was just like, dude, this is like not what I need to be doing.
What's your advice to young people today who are coming into money like that? How do they prevent that situation from happening?
Live in Texas or Florida and or Vegas, and but you just have to be very careful who you trust. I didn't have like a good read on people. You know, I was just like a 19, 20-year-old kid from Ohio and just thought everyone was nice. Go slow, and yeah, live below your means. I mean, if you could have your family involved somehow, like people that you really trust to monitor things, I think that is helpful. And make sure you're looking at your finances, like everything that's going out, all your payables, all your receipts, all your credit card charges, all that stuff.
One thing I'm curious about, slightly off topic, but in the same vein as this, everyday bro, how much did you make from that? Now, you might be asking yourself, what does the future hold for business? Because if you ask 9 different experts, you're going to get 10 different answers, from a bull market, a bear market. The economy's great. It's doomed. It'd be very helpful to have a crystal ball at this point.
But until that happens, over 41,000 businesses have already future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one fluid platform. You see, with one unified business management suite, you have just one source of truth, giving you all of the visibility and control you need to make quick decisions. Plus, with real-time insights and forecasting, you're peering into the future with actionable data. So when you're closing your books in days, not weeks, you're spending way less time looking backwards and a whole lot more time on what's next.
So whether your company is earning millions or even hundreds of millions, NetSuite helps you respond to immediate challenges and seize your biggest opportunities. And speaking of opportunity, right now you could download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning when you go to netsuite.com/iced. The guide is entirely free for you at netsuite.com/iced with the link down below in the description. Again, that is netsuite.com/iced. Thank you so much, NetSuite, for sponsoring this podcast. One thing I'm curious about, slightly off topic, but in the same vein as this, everyday bro, how much did you make from that?
Definitely probably like 2-3 million. It's not as much as you think. Like,
Didn't it go platinum?
it's a platinum record.
Did you ever expect that?
But also, you know, like I split the money up with there's like 6 people on the song or something. And then again, it has like 200-300 million views. But if you have like a $1 CPM, it's like 300K, 400K. Yeah, not a lot of money in music, I guess. I don't know.
Were you making any money from Team 10?
Not personally, no. I actually had to like invest my own money into Team 10 to keep it afloat, just because it's not a sustainable business model. Like, okay, let's say I get whatever twins or this person or that person making $2 million a year, and then we're taking 20% of that. But then all of a sudden they're like, why the are you taking 20%? Well, I made you famous. Like, no one knew who you were before. Oh, no. Like, my parents think you should be getting 10%. Okay, you know what? I'm the nice guy. Sure, we'll take 10%. Okay, you made $2 million. Okay, that's 200 grand. Like, that's one, executive level employee. And then for a creator to make $2 million a year consistently is like nearly impossible. So then the next year they make $1 million. Then all of a sudden, it's just like,
And now you're underwater on it.
yeah, and it's just like all these things and employees and expenses and margins and merchandise, whatever it is. It's just like at the end of the day, it just wasn't sustainable.
What did you learn going from just managing yourself and treating your own social media as though it's a business to then running like a real business like Team 10, where you probably have like administrators, you have the employees, it's like a full thing?
I learned a lot. I learned people suck mostly. And no one like will work as hard for your vision as you. Working with talent is terrible. It's still a nightmare, like till this day. They just egos and laziness, and it's just bad. So I learned that from very early on. People don't have gratitude. Humans are naturally like parasitic, right? Like that's how we are in nature, is always take more, take more, take more. So people forget where they came from. And I don't know, all of it was just kind of a experience. And then I just got blamed and like made the bad guy from everything, just because group, they all grouped together and like,
yeah.
knew that they could make me look bad. Like once one person left, they're like, all right, well, he already has that. So like now I can make up some and say it, and everyone's going to believe it. So it was just bad. And like it, if it was managed properly and I like had a senior person and people who understood social media, but back in that time, it was all still so new and no one really knew what was going on and all that stuff. But you definitely learn more from your failures and mistakes. So I think it definitely sharpened my blade in terms of just like execution, having the right team, management, working with investors, all of that stuff. I had to learn a lot about and like go through the fire. So it definitely, in the long run, it's paid off for sure.
It's interesting. Back in the day when It's Every Day Bro came out and like that whole era, I wasn't even on social media yet. So I was just like a random kid in Southern California watching, YouTube. I was aware of what was going on. My finger was on the pulse. I would see like the Paul brothers just consistently succeed and then fail, and then succeed and then publicly fail massively, and then succeed and then fail. How have you been able to, throughout your entire career, continue to be on the top? It makes no, like we haven't seen a single influencer do what you guys have done.
Yeah, I guess it's a lot to unpack the question, but I think as Mike Tyson once said, you only lose when you quit. So the only people that can stop you is you. I truly believe that. And just the resilience and knowing who I can only speak for myself, like knowing who I was as a person. And I think I got looped into a bunch of things. Like even in hindsight, it's like, why did everyone hate Jake Paul? Like I look back at that and it's like, oh, he jumped on a news van. Oh, he did, or people like left Team 10. Like for me, I kind of got wrapped up into a lot of Logan's things. And
yeah, I remember that.
He did a lot. And so I kind of just got grouped into the Paul's thing because of the serious that he was getting himself into. Um, but I think at the end of the day, man, it's like when you're doing something different, when you're succeeding, when you're being a disruptor, we are polarizing. Like I'll say my opinion, I'm loudmouth, whatever, sometimes ego, whatever, all of these things. Um, that's gonna rub people the wrong way. And I think 50% of the people would see me jumping on the news van and be like, that's hilarious. And then 50% of the people would be like, this kid, he's a rich douchebag. Like, how is he making this money? He's annoying, cringe. And I see both sides of it. So I get it. But at the end of the day, have that 50% of people that rock with you. Like, you can't really be stopped.
Do you think you need to be hated in order to be loved? Or do you think that you can be all one?
Hand in hand. I think for so long, I tried to be the good guy and like, no, guys, like, trust me, all those people like leaving Team 10, they're all lying. Like, I didn't do these things, or like whatever people were canceling me for, or whatever was going on back in the day. I'd be like, no, like I'm a good guy. Like, but like people don't want to hear that. They're not gonna believe you. Like, it's worthless. And I had nobody to come out and like back me. So at some point, I just embraced being the villain. I was like, all right, you guys want me to be the bad guy? Like, fine, I'm going to do it. And as soon as I did that, A, I felt more free. B, all the hate pretty much stopped because people like realized I didn't care and that I was using it to my advantage. And so like people would still secretly hate and secretly say things, but it wasn't nearly as bad. And so when I embraced the villain role, there was such a big shift and it made my life a lot better. So that was, years and years ago. But now I just I don't care about anything. Like, I'm happy. I love boxing. I love my life. And I'm just me. There's different sides of me. Like, I can be the entertainer. We could sit here and talk about venture capital, business, all of these things, like whatever. There's so many different sides of me. And so certain people see different sides and they still like make a judgment. But at the end of the day, I'm just being me.
Yeah, you seem really well-rounded now. And I'm curious, I'm sure those failures were really important for the development, but what was the biggest failure and the lowest low? And then what was the main thing that pulled you out of that? Like, how did you get out of it?
There was like that point where I was just like, was depressed, didn't have anything to show for all my hard work, was being sued. All my friends and people had left the house. And I was just in this like big mansion. I was just like, felt so empty. And there was definitely points where I was like really hated my life, demonetized off of YouTube because of like Logan's whole scandal and just everything that could have went wrong. And I think the only thing in that moment was really like boxing came into my life, which is why I feel like I owe everything to the sport of boxing, because it gave me purpose. I had to focus on the fight. I didn't have time to like feel like a victim or, oh, look at all these bad things happening to me. I just had to win. And I was surrounded by people on the same mission. So like the team and love aspect came back in, and I like felt like I had a group of people around me. And it also like healed the relationship with my brother slowly, because instead of us fighting, it was like, no, we're on a team fighting these brothers. And all of this basically sort of like slowly brought me back to life. And so really like I think that's why I say it. Like, people hate on it, but it's like I would be dead in jail if it wasn't for boxing.
It's so interesting because right here in our notes, we have it. By your early 20s, it seems like you had it all. Millions of dollars, millions of fans, a strong legacy. Why pivot to boxing? But you're saying it was essentially the exact opposite. Like, you felt like you were lacking in all of those categories, and boxing was kind of the thing that pulled you out of
Wow.
that saved you.
Yeah, 100%. And I didn't feel like I was living up to my fullest potential, like being a YouTuber, running around doing these things. And I feel like I could do more or do better in life or be respected more for my talents and my abilities. I don't think people like really saw the ingenuity behind everything that I was doing. And so I just felt like, yeah, I felt lost in all this stuff. And in boxing, everything sort of started to click.
Do you think that people doubted you more as a boxer or when you were getting into YouTube?
I think people doubted me more as a boxer, just because I had already like been successful on social media. So I don't think anyone really doubted me as like a YouTuber, but it was like, no way can this kid box and beat someone up, and like he's just like a Disney princess.
Seemed like you really treated it though almost like a startup. Like you really invested heavily in yourself, trainers, diet, nutrition.
Yeah, I mean, anything I do, I try to maximize the systems to make it the most prosperous. I mean, that's what I did in YouTube is I saw what was working online, which was like MagCon, all of these like friend groups getting together. And that's essentially where I was like, all right, Team 10, everyone's going to move into a house. So I would just always maximize like the best systems and create these different characters for people to follow along with, and editors filming storylines. I would literally like write out storylines like a reality show for YouTube, and all of these things would go behind the scenes. And I take everything I do very, very seriously and am very competitive. So when I went into boxing, it was no different than YouTube. Essentially, I'm gonna have the best recovery, the best food, the best trainers. I'm gonna do it every day like I do with YouTube. And it actually brought me back to my roots of being an athlete as a kid in Ohio. So
How did you justify spending so much money on it when it was an unproven method?
well, it was less money than I was spending doing YouTube. So I was kind of like whatever, but I definitely still had a lot to learn, but I just knew that I guess that's just the nature of a successful like if you go into a new thing, you're just going to go as hard as you can at it.
How did you make sure you weren't going to get ripped off? Like you do an event and you don't get paid, or like some lawyers like, oh, well, actually you signed this contract and you owe us $50,000. How do you make sure it's profitable?
Yeah, at that point in time, I think there started to become more trustworthy people around me, and I had the experience of being screwed over a bunch of times, and so I could just decipher things better. I think I got like a really good, like trustworthy lawyer at that time, so I just felt more comfortable in that, and I wasn't really focused on the money for the boxing match. It was more like, I'm just gonna win and beat this kid's.
But you still took somewhat of a financial gamble. I mean, you were fighting against the stigma of being like a YouTube boxer versus like a real boxer. Do you think you had to put in some groundwork and kind of financially support it in the beginning to take some lower paid stuff? And when did it start to actually financially make sense for you?
No, for sure. I mean, the first fight, yeah, I was basically like losing money on fighting for the first couple of fights, just with all the money I was investing into it and the camps and the coaches and all that stuff. And even now, it's like some fights you'll take, you're just like breaking. Like not every fight is a massive money fight. That's people just always like see that as, you know, the headlines, whatever, and all of these things. So, but you know, when I go and fight Ryan Borland or Andre August, like I'm making money, but it's like not. It's you're doing it because I'm going to become world champion, and I have to stay active.
How true are some of the headlines? Like I saw one, it was in 2021 that said you made $40 million from 3 fights. Where do they pull
like
those
three.
three matches. 40 million from three
That's
of them.
true. Yeah. Yeah, I've roughly been averaging like around $40 million a year for the past 4 years in boxing. The first like year and a half of boxing, I didn't make much. But that's I kind of guess what your question was. Like I was definitely at a loss in the first year of boxing.
How does that change your perspective on money? And do you ever think like, oh man, why didn't I do this sooner?
I think everything worked out perfectly, right? Like if I didn't have my YouTube persona and following and everyone doubting me to become a boxer and people hating me from everything that happened in that world, I don't think I would be making as much. Like in boxing, the villain makes more. So I mean, that's why I purposely make people hate me and like play that role and be the bad guys, because what are you going to pay more? You want to pay for the pay-per-view or tune into Netflix to see the guy get knocked out that you hate. That fear and hate is a more powerful emotion oftentimes in people. So that's what I draw out of it, but it's a lot of money. And it's like I'm definitely blessed and grateful and all this stuff, but it feels like every bit of it was earned. Like I've worked my ass off for 12 years straight every single day, and then finally, everything clicks overnight, and then 8-9 years into it is when I like start feeling like I'm finally making what I deserve. So I feel like every single thing, every penny that I've made, I actually deserve more because of the amount of hard work that I've put in. And I think my biggest paydays are still to come for sure in the sport of boxing, but also in business, because every day I lay the foundation, and that's where people don't understand is like nothing is an overnight success. And the people who are billionaires and all this stuff, they earned that. They truly earned that.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of hard work, and it was really cool to observe the change from you seemingly being like a YouTube boxer to like over time, as a couple of years have passed, people are like, no, he's like a real boxer. I remember I was at a bar watching your fight with Mike Tyson, and some guys, random older guys, like right next to me, were talking. They're like, yeah, Tyson's just going to show this kid like what's up. He's going to destroy him.
Yeah.
And then the guy he was talking to was like, no, I'm pretty sure he's like a real boxer now. And he's like, no, it's not going to happen. Yeah. And it was like on all of the screens in I think it was Red Rock Casino in Vegas.
That's
yeah.
funny.
And that was cool to see.
It's funny too, because I don't watch any sports whatsoever, but I've seen all of your matches.
Thank you, man.
Part of it, I don't know, is because there's like a YouTube camaraderie where it's like, I want to see you fight. But also, it seems like everyone I know is interested in your fights. The Tyson fight was massive. I probably had 15, 20 people over at the house watching it.
No, that was like a different level and a different scale. But I think because of my story and the uniqueness of it, more people besides the boxing audience are actually interested in the fighting and my story, and to see how I'm going to do it, how am I going to perform. And it's just continued to grow and grow. And so I think that's the differentiator and why a lot more people are interested in boxing now and this new path that I've taken.
Now, with boxing, is it going to be similar to YouTube, where like every time you have to amp it up a little more, a little more, a little more? Like, where do you see the trajectory going?
It's different, man. It really is. I think boxing is more patience. You can take your time. I can choose whoever I want to fight. And I'm more in control of my destiny. There's not like YouTube or any of these. I don't have to worry about 15 different creators in my house and all their problems. Like I can just actually focus on me. And I've been boxing for 5 years, right? Which is already double the amount of time that I daily vlogged. So it is interesting that some people don't even know that I was a YouTuber. Like genuinely, they haven't even watched my videos, but they've watched me fight. So I think I'm more known as a boxer now, which is pretty crazy. But I definitely want to amp it up and do bigger fights and challenge myself and become world champion. So naturally, I've set that as my goal, and I think it'll create such a crazy sports story where I go from zero, not knowing jabs and hooks and body shots and all these things, walking into a gym, and then 6 to 7 years later, becoming the best in the world. I want to do that just to inspire kids that they can go after something against all odds and accomplish it.
What was the deal with the controversy about boxer pay? I remember this a few years ago, and you criticized Dana White and the UFC for not paying their boxers enough. What was that about?
I started being around boxers and MMA fighters and all this stuff, and would always hear how underpaid they were. And I obviously know that these are the hardest sports in the world. You're getting bashed in the head like 3 days a week, right early in the morning sparring. And I met Amanda Serrano. She was getting paid like $4,000 a fight, and she's one of the best fighters to ever live. And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, how is this possible? And so I started to just hear more about all these stories, and I started talking about how these fighters weren't getting paid enough and weren't getting paid a lot. Once I did that, everyone started supporting me and basically backing me and encouraging me to talk more about it. And UFC fighters were coming to me behind the scenes like, we don't get paid this, we're taken advantage of. And I started to learn more about it, and I was like, this is insane. And so I basically accidentally became a spokesperson for like women's fighters and for MMA fighters who were getting paid basically. And I found out that the UFC only pays its fighters like 10% of its income, whereas like in the NBA and NFL, the athletes get paid 50% of the total income. So like this is a massive discrepancy. They don't have health insurance, all of these things. And so I just started simply speaking on it, and it became this massive thing between me and Dana White where we just constantly were beefing back and forth for years. But genuinely, I was just like, hey man, you're paying these fighters a minimum of $12,000 for a fight. They're risking their lives. Why not just increase it to 50,000? You're going to make the sport better because they're going to take it more seriously. They won't have to work other jobs, and it's just going to be better for the whole ecosystem. And that was my only like request.
What was his reasoning?
He just doesn't have to. I mean, it's just capitalism at the end of the day, right? Like he has these fighters under contract regardless. He can pay them whatever he wants essentially, or they won't fight. So it's really essentially a monopoly of sorts, and he doesn't have to listen to anyone or pay them more. And he's not.
So why did you start your own promotions company?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was just like a natural progression, right? Like from Team 10, just bring it back into boxing. Nah, but
Can't get away from it.
I know, like, but truly, imagine the world of boxing as like Taxi, and it's just these old, outdated promoters. No one knows what they're doing. None of them are good at marketing. They're signing these fighters to like 10 fight deals where they're taking advantage of them. Dirty business, shelving fighters, all these egos and weird things wrapped up into the sport. And me and my business partner, Akisa, were like, we could do this so much better with just a few changes. And we put fighters first. Everyone wanted to be with us all of a sudden overnight. We're doing better marketing, more viral fights, being more creative, and instantly basically was a success. And everywhere we went, people were like, you guys are the best to work with. You guys are the best to work with. You guys are the best to work with. And so it's been 3.5 years now, and we threw the biggest fight in boxing history and continue to do more. The next fight with Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor on Netflix. We've made Amanda Serrano the highest paid female athlete for a single event ever. And it's just been really successful. And there's still so much more to do.
How are the finances broken down behind the scenes? Because, hosting an event like that could be millions of dollars.
Each fight is different, but essentially you're getting paid from the broadcasting. So whether that's like pay-per-view or Netflix or DAZN or whatever. And then there's like the ticket sales of like the in-person. And you work out an agreement where the fighters are going to get this much, this fighter's going to get this much, and us as the promotion is taking the risk essentially. But after a certain amount of money, like any of the profit will get split up depending between the two main event fighters and then the promotional company. And so you can lose money on events, but knock on wood or whatever, but we've been doing pretty well, and events can profit millions and millions of dollars.
What's your thought on Creator Clash?
I thought it was super entertaining. I watched all of them.
Really?
Like,
I was in the first one.
Yeah, I saw you fight, but
Michael Reeves.
when bro, I think that stuff is it had its era, right? I think like influencer boxing was cool for a bit, but then once the influencers didn't get any better, people didn't want to fight each other, and everything was kind of like sloppy fights, then it kind of like died out.
I think it was the novelty of it.
Yeah.
Kind of went away.
Exactly. So it kind of just got old. But actually, one of the people who helped with Creator Clash like works for MVP now. But he's like a wizard and just understands the marketing and the differentiation and disrupting and just being different in the sport.
What do you think is your highest high and lowest low so far in your boxing career?
Now, really quick, I just want to say that when Jack and I first started the podcast, we had to figure out practically everything ourselves, from the best equipment to use, how to edit, how to book guests, you name it. That's why if you're starting out your own business, today's sponsor is incredibly relevant, and that would be Shopify.
Shopify is basically your all-in-one business partner. They power millions of businesses worldwide, like Mattel and Gymshark, to entrepreneurs just getting started. Fun fact, if you've actually shopped online in the United States, there's an extremely high likelihood it was powered by Shopify because they handle about 10% of all American e-commerce.
What's great about Shopify is that you get a complete design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates to build a beautiful online store that perfectly matches your brand. There's no coding needed. Their AI tools even help you write product descriptions or enhance your product photos.
Shopify also makes marketing extremely easy with simple email and social campaigns to reach customers wherever they're scrolling. Plus, they handle everything from inventory to shipping to returns. Basically, all of the complicated stuff you don't want to deal with.
If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business ideas into...
So sign up for a $1 per month trial at shopify.com/ICH. Seriously, guys, start that business you've wanted to start. It costs $1 per month. Shopify.com/ICH. Shopify.com/ICH. I could not recommend it more. I had my own Shopify store. I know plenty of people that have made massive businesses off of Shopify. Couldn't recommend it more.
Thanks again to our sponsor, Shopify. And now let's get back to the podcast.
I got a question for you. When's the last time you needed to see a doctor, but you pushed it off? You made the excuse, I'm too busy, it'll heal on its own, or I don't even know which doctor to go to. I'm sure we've all been there. Booking a doctor's appointment can sometimes feel so daunting, but thanks to our sponsor Zocdoc, there is no reason to delay because they make it incredibly easy to find and book a doctor who's right for you.
For those unaware, Zocdoc is a free app and website where you could search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and then click to instantly book a visit. You could also filter for doctors who take your insurance, are located nearby, are a good fit for any medical needs you might have, and who are highly rated by verified patients. And then once you find the right doctor, you could see their actual appointment openings, choose a time slot that works best with you, and then click to instantly book a visit.
And appointments made through Zocdoc also happen really fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking, and you can even score same-day appointments. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to Zocdoc.com/ICE to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/ICE. Once again, it is Zocdoc.com/iced, and we have a link down below in the description, so you can just click it there. Thank you so much to Zocdoc for sponsoring this episode.
I mean, highest high's got to be... That's a tough one, actually. I would say... I mean, the Mike Tyson moment, but also I think winning knockout of the year against Woodley was a great feeling. And then the lowest... It's easy to point to the Tommy Fury loss, but also I would say this year has just been very annoying with multiple massive fights falling through, and it's just so tiring, and the politics of boxing just get old, and dealing with people not actually wanting to fight and making fights happen in negotiation just is getting tiring.
How much work goes in behind the scenes before something gets announced?
So much, dude. I mean, we're on calls basically every day for months to make fights happen. And mostly Nikisa, so I feel bad for him, but my manager and business partner in MVP. But he even has to call me and ask, like, okay, what size ring, what size gloves? They want this. They want the fight here. We want the fight there. The judge needs to be this. The ref needs to be that. They want this much money. Are you willing to take this much less to give them that much more? And then I'm like, no. And then he has to go convince them. And then, dude, it's a lot, bro. It's a lot.
What was the final number that you won in the Tyson fight?
It was like low 30s, low 30 million.
Did you do anything with that money immediately afterwards when the wire hit your account?
I haven't really announced it yet, but I guess people kind of know or kind of don't know. But I bought a ranch, a pretty expensive ranch. It wasn't like right away after the Tyson fight or whatever, but I've been wanting to buy a ranch for the past 15 years. It's kind of been like my dream and why I work so hard. And I think it's just, I love everything to do with hunting, jet skiing, ATVs, fishing, horses, cows, all that stuff. I grew up going to a cabin a lot with my dad, and so I've always just wanted to go back to that, and so been working towards buying a ranch for a long time.
How much did it cost?
It cost $39 million.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty.
It costs about a fight.
Yeah, about a fight.
Oh, shit.
Couple of rounds there.
How big is it?
It's 5,700 acres.
Oh my god.
It's massive. It's a little bit bigger than I wanted, but when I got there, I was like, I have to buy this
How do you?
place.
Okay, so what are the logistics of buying a ranch like that? Do you find a broker, and like how do you even find that much land for sale? Is this?
Yeah, it's pretty rare for that big of a plot to be for sale, like all in one area. And yeah, we had a realtor. Shout out to Walter Hatchett and John Kohler. But yeah, I was looking at a bunch of properties, and I was looking online for years. And every year that I would look, I wouldn't really find many properties to even go look at. But then I started finding some that popped up on the market because I had all these specifications. Like I needed to be able to wake surf and hunt, and I want to build a racetrack on it. So I want to be able to do all of these things and also be able to like, yeah.
Do you have your own lake on it?
Yeah,
then?
yeah.
Oh my
It has
gosh.
multiple lakes.
How big are the lakes? And do you have to stock fish in them?
Yeah. So it was stocked like a couple of years ago, but you have to stock it pretty much like every like 5 years. You drain the lake and then put it back and then restock it. But the one lake is 20 acres. The other one's 30, and then there's like a 4-acre one. It's insane.
I feel like that's everyone's dream. Every guy's dream is to like
Yeah,
have a
of course.
ranch.
Yeah.
You could go there with your friends. You have dirt bikes. You have like, it's like the Danny Duncan life.
Yeah,
It's like the
it
Whistling
is.
Diesel kind of life, just going around and messing around.
Exactly. And also being able to like raise your kids in
Yeah.
nature and teach them about animals and all of that stuff. And that's how I was raised. And I think, we're in the iPad kid generation. Like I'm not letting my kids have iPads. Like they're going to be real and social, and it's just amazing. Like even the city that it's in, everyone there is so mature and nice and smart. All the kids, like there's literally like kids running a whole coffee shop there by themselves, and they're like 15, 14 years old or 12 years old. So I just wanted to be like in that environment. And
Is that going to be self-sustaining, where you could theoretically just live off the grid?
yeah, no, it will be eventually for sure. That's That's the goal, is to have our own steaks and plants and vegetables and anything we want to do there is a possibility.
I feel like in terms of upping the stakes with boxing, are you ever going to fight Logan?
Man, I don't think so. I really don't think we will fight.
That would be one of the
I th-
most anticipated events.
That's the only reason why I think we maybe would, is just because like we do everything that no one else does, right? Like no other boxing brothers in history have fought. The Klitschko's, the Charlos, the list goes on and on, but we could be the first idiots to just say
Do you
fuck
think-
it. I think it'd be
Yeah.
better in MMA, because in boxing, like I would beat him pretty easily. And so I think if
You
we
think it won't even be close?
no, it
What would
be,
he say to that?
I think he would probably agree, but I think he would think it would be closer. He would last like 2 rounds with me in boxing, maybe 3. But in MMA, I think he would actually have the advantage because
The wrestling?
he's really good at wrestling. And he can do like the splits, and so I'm pretty sure he could kick me in the head. Like he can kick highs.
Would your parents not like that?
No, they've always said no. They've always said if you do it, like we're gonna disown you type.
Do they think it would impact your relationship together? Like if one of you wins, it's the other one is going to be maybe a little resentful over that.
For sure. For sure. But we've made it through worse, I think. I think diss tracks were worse than us fighting.
Really?
I
Yeah.
feel like if
But
one of
those, I saw those and I was like, there's no way this is real.
That
Like,
was real. Those were real.
I agree. I was with Jag. I'm like, there's no way.
That's so funny. So we always, as an audience,
Yeah.
only ever had the wrong idea of what was going on.
I think so. I think so.
So
Yeah.
what was the realest moment? Like, did you see a notification on your phone? It was like diss track and you're like, oh no. There's
Yeah,
no
watching
way.
it, I was just like this. Oh fuck.
So they wouldn't. He wouldn't
He's
even
going
send it
hard.
to you first. Like no one would send it to you before it was posted.
No, we
live.
wouldn't even talk. We didn't even talk back then.
So that was the worst relationship that
The-
you had
Wow.
with Logan.
Yeah,
at
that
that
was like
time?
the worst time for sure. But I mean,
Was there a bar in that diss track or in any of the diss tracks that like really made you angry?
I think the thing that made me the most angry was he said do your investors know Team 10's not making any money? I was like, bro, fuck. I was like, bro, I'm working so hard on this company and it's just not working. I was like, that really hurt me. That
It's a-
really hurt
But
me.
how do you take that and then like diss it back to him? Like, do you ever feel like maybe you've crossed a line, or at that point it was like, oh yeah, he mentioned Team 10 House, let's go in with this.
I forget what happened after that, to be honest, but I think honestly, like, even though I was like, this is insane and like this is going viral, like everything at that point in time was like adding to the hype. So
was.
I just saw everything as like a net positive. I was like, this is great. Now I can go. I think I would like go then show up at his house and like then we pranked him and then my video got like 20 million views. So like I really didn't care, like we were on this rampage, but I think what people don't realize about Logan and I is that it's actually rooted in us wanting like freedom, and I think more so around like financial freedom for our families. And I think at the time we were just like, this is making money and money is a tool, and people say like money doesn't buy happiness, and it buys freedom, which is like one of the number one things in the world that everyone is actually secretly striving for. And it buys you time to spend with loved ones and your family and being there for your kids. So it does buy you love and happiness and all of these things. And not buying you love in terms of like your partner, but like it buys you more time to create love and memories and moments with your family. So that's where we've been like hell bent and like super driven to make money. And I think that was really, especially then back in the day.
What keeps you going most now then? Is it still the pursuit of money? Is it like the pursuit to be the best boxer in the world?
No, number one right now is definitely becoming world champion in boxing. And I think for me, I've always challenged myself with wanting to exit a company for $1 billion. Since I was a kid, I went to Silicon Valley when I was like 17 and fell in love with investing, startup world, creating the future, creating like a cutting edge company. And I was meeting all these billionaires when I was a young kid. And I was like, these guys are impressive, but I think I can do what they're doing. And so I think I still have those two goals, like one, become world champion, and two, exit $1 billion company. Not the financial part of it's great. Yeah, I love money. Everyone loves money. If you can't admit that, then you're a liar. But because of the intricacies and the challenge it takes to get there, it's like a real life game of Monopoly. And I think that's always just been a challenge for myself because there's only 3,000 billionaires in the world. And I want to challenge myself to see if I can play the game of life at the highest level.
How far away are you from hitting a billionaire status?
I'm far. Yeah. It's once you start working towards it, it's like way harder than you think. But and that's $1 billion liquid. Like if I looked at my net worth, I'm not as far as I think. But having $1 billion liquid is like way different than having $1 billion net worth, for sure. It's like two very, very different
Interesting.
things.
We were talking to Papa John. He got over $1 billion liquid.
Yeah.
He talks about just putting it in dividend stocks, earning 5%.
Yeah, you make $50 million
and
a year.
that's it.
That's $136,000 a day off of 5%. It's insane.
Is this how you break it down, like by the day in terms of income? Because I would do the same thing, and I put a time for every hour of the day. And then I would calculate, is this worth my time to do this certain thing? Or like take an afternoon off? Because I would be losing out on that amount of money if I wasn't working.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think the focus is boxing, where I'm making the most amount of money, like liquid right now. So for me, it's more so just like framing it around like my fights and working towards a fight and trying to set up the biggest fights possible. But also I'm fighting Chavez, June 28th. And that's not necessarily the biggest fight ever, but it's a challenging fight. He's a former world champion. And then the WBA and the WBC, which are the sanctioning bodies, are planning to rank me depending on how I do in the fight. And based off of that ranking, I'll then be able to go fight for a world championship.
What about fighting Canelo?
Yeah, it almost happened. I mean, we were on the 1 yard line, letter of intent signed, and then his other business deal, he had a 3-fight deal that he signed, but he was able to fight one time before that. And once these people figured out that he was going to fight me before his 3-fight deal, they threatened to pool his 3-fight deal, which was like $300 million. So of course he was like, I can't fight you.
Why would they pull? I feel like it would be good.
They don't want him to fight me because I have people who dislike me in the sport who don't want to see me succeed and win and be the biggest name in the sport.
How much do you think you would have won in that fight?
Like how much would I have made?
Yeah.
Like $100 million.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Do you get more or less if you win or lose, or does it not matter?
No, it doesn't matter. Some like very rarely in the sport do you ever see that. It's very rare.
This might be a stupid question, but can close friends and family bet on you to win? Like direct friends and family, or is that not allowed? I'm just curious.
They can. I just am not allowed to know about it.
Okay.
So that like rule changed, I think, like last year. Like 3 years ago, they could bet on me and I could know about it. And then for some reason, like a year ago, I think they changed the rules where I can't know about it or something.
Can you bet on yourself?
I can bet on myself.
Do you
I was
bet on
gonna
yourself?
bet against Canelo. I was gonna bet like $2 million on myself.
Did you bet against yourself on the Tyson fight?
Did I bet on myself?
on yourself.
No. For just because of the odds, like it really like wasn't worth it because I was the favorite. But with Canelo, I would have been probably like a plus 1,000 underdog. So whatever the math on that is, if I would have bet 2 mil, I probably would have made like, I think the math's like 20 or something like that.
So I'm just curious to wrap up because everyone wants to know like the Jake and the Logan fight. Who do you think wants it less then? Like what's the main obstacle? And how much do you think it would make?
I think if Logan and I fought, we'd probably both make like 70 to 100 mil. But
it would break records.
Yeah, I think so. Who wants it less? I would say we both really don't care right now.
Okay.
Yeah. He's so focused on WWE, and I have like 7 people on a list waiting to fight me. And there's plenty of other ways to make big moments and do big things than fighting my brother.
What about the health risks of like eventually one day, imagine you have a family and children and there's a serious risk or you just get hit the wrong way and something happens?
Yeah, I mean, it's scary. I think, ESPN did a study where they ranked the hardest sports in the world. They had like 70 professional analysts vote on the hardest sports in the world, and boxing was ranked number 1 for its danger and just how hard it is and the dedication and all that stuff and the cardio, the conditioning. It's a sprint and a marathon at the same time. But I feel great. So I don't know, after 5 years of doing it, I'm healthier than ever, mentally doing amazing. So I'm just always thinking of the positive. And even in sparring, I've never been knocked down or knocked out or anything. So I've just yet to experience any.
Have you ever been knocked out?
No, never. I was meditating once. That's how my nose is crooked. People think my nose is crooked from boxing, but I was meditating once. It's the only time I've ever passed out and I got knocked out. But I like was sitting on this higher chair thing, meditating, breathing in, and I think I had like low blood sugar or something, or it was early in the morning, earlier than I normally woke up. And I just fell forward straight into the concrete and it broke my nose and I was like knocked out for like 5-6 seconds. But that's the only time I've ever passed out and got knocked out all in one go.
How often do you meditate? I remember you speaking about visualizing the win and like really getting in that state.
I meditate every morning for about 5-10 minutes. I figure I like doing it more consistently for shorter versus like trying to like catch up on it. But I just have so much going on in my life that if I don't take that moment in the morning to like think through my day, have gratitude, think of how I want to attack the day, all the things I want to do, I'll just like lose myself in just the madness of everything going on. But yeah, so the manifestation thing and visualizing the fight, you're actually like preparing your brain to create that moment. And when it's there and when you're in the moment, your brain is actually going to react quicker and know what's going on if you're visualizing it time in and time again. And then I vocally say what's going to happen out loud. We live in a vibrational world of frequencies. We're electrical beings on like these different frequencies. And so you're actually just creating the sound and creating the frequency into the world of what you want to happen. And it's worked for me. I think you have to like truly believe it and truly believe in magic. Otherwise, it doesn't work for a lot of people.
We were talking to Michelle Carr, and she said that one of the things she was doing to prepare is that she would listen every morning to crowd cheering, just to get used to when she walks in the ring that she would hear the crowd cheering. And then she visualized that was for her.
Yeah, I spar in the last 2 weeks of camp. I spar in the gym. We have, like, super loud speakers. I spar with the crowd noise, like, and the speakers cranked all the way up, because it's a different environment. You wanna simulate the environment you're in and not being able to hear your coaches over the crowd sometimes, and so I do all of these things to just mimic the fight night and the pressure and all that.
What would you say is truly the most difficult aspect of fame and success?
I guess the fame. I don't think there's a difficult aspect of success, like besides the sacrifice and like you have to give up a lot of things to work hard. But fame has, I think the fame has way more benefits than it does any like downsides. And I feel blessed. Like I think I'm lucky and have worked to be in the position I'm in. Um, but there is times where I'm like want to just like go to the grocery store or like I went to Walmart the other night in like a full disguise and it was just nice. Like I guess just doing normal things, right? Like Michael Jackson once hired actors and like shut down a grocery store and had them be in there acting like they were shopping just so he could like walk around and go to a grocery store. So I think like when you're eating and you're with my fiance and like people are coming up and there's food in my mouth and they're like shoving cameras in your face. It's just like little moments like that. But I want to make all my fans happy. And so I do want to take pictures with everyone and be nice to everyone. And if I can make their day, that makes me happy as well.
So you put on a disguise just to go to Walmart?
Yeah, what's the disguise? Like, how do you do this?
Yeah, like pants, long sleeves, like sweatshirt. And then I wear a hat and sunglasses. And then I put the hoodie up. So
what about
really,
a COVID mask? I feel like that would.
Yeah, sometimes I do the COVID mask, but then it's like I can't breathe. But that's if it's in a super crowded place. I went to Walmart late at night, so there wasn't a lot of people.
What'd
there.
you go there to buy?
I was at my new ranch, and so I was just like picking up just like all sorts of random new stuff.
Did you get recognized by anyone?
Yeah, one guy.
One guy still?
Yeah.
How? Did he hear your voice?
No, I was like in the back and I was like overheating from the disguise, and so I took my sunglasses off and the hoodie off, and then he just saw me.
That is funny.
Is it difficult to maintain relationships being so public?
I don't know. I don't think that's ever been an issue for me. I think a lot of people have issues with it because they like get so wrapped up in, I guess, like their fans and how their fans care about the relationship. But I've just always been able to like really disconnect from social media and like distance myself from comments or highs or lows or whatever people are saying.
You have a tattoo that says, "I wish I could explain."
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it has. I wish I could explain. It has. You can't like ever judge someone until you've actually been in their shoes, right? Like I find myself sometimes like being mad at people or not understanding people, but then I realize if I had lived their life and experienced everything that they experienced and I had their genetics, I would be that exact same person. And so that like really removes a lot of judgment. And there was a point where like when I got this tattoo where I just like felt super misunderstood by the world. And I truly felt that if I walked into a bar with my biggest hater, anyone who truly didn't like me, we would at least leave the bar with a mutual understanding and respect and a little bit of love for each other. And I think that frustration of not being able to sit down with every single person in the world and have a conversation with them and come to some sort of middle ground of knowing that we're just all flawed humans trying to do our best was frustrating, because I feel like I wish I could explain to these people my situation and circumstances and why they necessarily shouldn't have certain judgments of me.
So if you could snap your fingers and you'd keep all the money, but you'd lose the fame, you would not do that.
It depends what day you ask me. But I would say I would keep it how it is. Just because I feel as if I can do good things to inspire and to help the world with my platform currently, more than I could do if I was like just wealthy.
Yeah. How did ayahuasca change your perspective?
I think I used to be pretty like sadistic, and I think didn't have a relationship with God, and I was like just lost. And I got into meditation and breath work, and that's when I like felt the presence of God. And then I did shrooms, and I was like, whoa, this world is crazy. And I felt like all these emotions and self-identity and ego death and like all these crazy things and energies and this different conscious world, and it opened my eyes up to a lot. And so I just went down this path of self-improvement, self-learning, how my actions affect the rest of the world, etc. And all of these things were, I think, slowly bringing me closer to a relationship with God. And then through ayahuasca, just experience so many magical things. Looking yourself in the mirror, which is also like really hard to do, it shows you all your flaws, where you can improve, but it also shows you how amazing you are, and where your superpowers lie, and what things you're already doing that are great. And it's like this motherly figure, Mother Ayahuasca, and I believe she is a god. I think there's multiple different gods and entities, but feeling that love and that connection to that spirit and that God is just super, super powerful. And after I did like Toad and ayahuasca, I was like, all right, like God is certain, God is real. There's not a shadow of doubt in my mind. And since then, that relationship with God and praying and talking to him and having that guiding figure and that guiding light has just like improved my life in all aspects.
Were you nervous going into that? Like, this might change me for the worse, or I might not like who I become afterwards?
No, not really. I didn't know what to expect, and I think that's what made me nervous. But with psychedelics, I've like heard horror stories of people like changing and stuff and all that, but I never had any of those experiences with breath work or shrooms, which is where I started. And I'm pretty strong-minded, and so I just looked at it as a tool to help uncover things. And I didn't think it was, and I wasn't going through like an identity crisis where a lot of people do ayahuasca and then like shave their head and change their names and stuff. Like I didn't need the like meaning or searching for like a group, or like I'm just going to become a hippie. I know what I was going into it with and my intentions, and I know the path I'm on. And so I think and I'm pretty self-aware.
Mhm.
I think when people like aren't self-aware and they take ayahuasca, then they're going to hate it. And it's going to be too much for them, and that could be mentally damaging. But I think I was doing pretty good as is, and then dove into that world.
Would you take it again?
Yeah, I've taken it like 6 times
Oh
now.
my God.
Yeah. No, I think everyone should take it, and everyone needs it. And I think if we all did ayahuasca, the world would be a much, much better place. There would be less judgment. And it's like being in the gym, right? People think you go to take ayahuasca once and your life is complete and you're going to figure everything out. It's not the case at all. It's a look into like what could be, but you have to integrate. You have to actually make the changes, and that's where a lot of people struggle and fail. And I've seen a lot of things where it's like improve here, improve there, and I do good for a little bit, and then I like go back to my default settings. So it's a constant work for self-improvement and for psychedelics and ayahuasca and all these things. So you really need to stay at it unless you are super content with who you are and all these things. But I always want to be better, and I know I can be better. And I think sometimes you need those reminders of what areas you're lacking in.
Now, you've said before that you want to have higher quality thoughts. How do you go about doing that?
It's hard,
What sort
man.
of thoughts are we talking about?
Yeah, it's hard. I had my friend Marcel like come and hypnotize me recently, and we did this like hour and a half long session, and he's like yelling at you and like going deep and like making you think of all those bad thoughts and traumas and things, and then like basically trying to like erase it from the hard drive like a computer. We are computers, and like we're programmed like computers in our thoughts and subconscious and all of these things. And we're electrical beings, so we're literally computers. And so essentially you have to clear up that junk space. You have to get rid of any viruses, anything that is in there, and that's the best way to explain it. But since then I've noticed a really big improvement, and it's like anytime something negative comes up, or oh, this is going to be hard, or oh, I don't want to do this today, or whatever it might be, or anything, the positive thought, you have to train yourself for it to come in and take care of the negative thought and focus and prioritize the positive one. And it's like going to the gym. It's like reps, and for me, a lot of times, a lot of the negative thoughts and stuff come in the morning. Like right when I wake up, it's like, oh, I have to do this today and all these things, and I'm all stressed out. And it's like, no, calm down. I'm going to take care of my responsibilities today with ease. I got this. This is what I'm good at. I'm not worried. I'm excited to box and train, and excited to do these calls and interviews and filming today, and changing some of those ways of thinking. But it takes time.
That's interesting that you just say, just like any muscle or any skill, it just takes reps and you can get good at it. I'm curious, what is your least deserving criticism that people give you that you think people are completely misguided on?
Yeah, rigged fights and like steroids, I think, is probably the most ludicrous ones, which Dana White started both of those rumors. Yeah, after I beat Mike Tyson, the amount of people saying like this is rigged, and they like showed this clip of Mike Tyson like going to swing at me with a left hook, and like he like stopped doing it, but the average person doesn't understand boxing and saw I had like my right hand up, so he would have like swung like this, I catch it and shoot, he's leaning forward, like I could have knocked him out. So that's why he stopped throwing it. And it's like they play this one clip and it has literally 50 million views on TikTok of like and Twitter of like, this is a rigged fight. So that's definitely number one. But
it's interesting. I remember seeing that on Twitter.
Yeah,
and people are like, Tyson was gonna knock the out of him, but he couldn't because it was in the contract. And everyone's like, wow, it's in the contract? I had no idea. Yeah, it's rigged. And people just make shit up.
Well, it pissed off Netflix so much that that people think that Netflix would allow that to be in the contract. First of all, like Netflix wanted like one of us to die for sure for the entertainment purposes. But in the next in my next fight on Netflix, there's a like multi-million-dollar knockout bonus for if someone gets knocked out. So just to combat that narrative of like the rigged fights.
See, I always thought the winner would get more in a fight like this. And then that way it would financially incentivize people to like really just...
There's sometimes knockout bonuses. I think for Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, I don't know if it's announced, but I think there's like a $500,000 knockout bonus, but it's just like rare kind of.
When you're fighting Mike Tyson, are there certain subtleties in the way that he fights that you don't see in any other fighters? You're like, okay, you've studied the game. You've fought for so long. You're fighting IQ in the same way an NBA player, like someone who's been in the league for a long time, they have high NBA IQ? Or is every fighter that steps into that professional ring like ready?
Everyone's ready. I think what was surprising about Mike Tyson is like how hard it was to hit him. Like his movement and getting out of the way of punches, he's like lightning fast, even at his age. So I got to see and understand like what made him an icon was that style where he like just disappears out of nowhere, and that was definitely shocking. But I think every fighter has that one attribute that stands out. You know, even if you're whooping their ass, they're still a fighter. They're still good. You're still in there with someone who can knock you out. So you definitely always have to be cautious.
I'm curious, what was up with the locker room scene where he just turned around?
Yeah.
Was any of that planned? Or
No,
was that just...
not planned. I was
couldn't
watching that
believe
too.
it.
I thought it was the funniest shit ever.
We paused it. We're like, no way. We have
But
to
I
go
guess
back.
he doesn't wear underwear like under his cup. So, and I think he just like wasn't thinking. I don't know.
Just didn't care.
Yeah.
Listen, when you're Mike
Yeah.
Tyson, you could afford just not to care.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want when you're Mike Tyson. It's very true.
Let's talk about some of these companies you're building. First of all, Better. You raised recently at a $375 million valuation. What is your role and vision with this company?
I'm really like one of the heads of marketing and like the social media side and growing out the media team. But the vision for the company was all of these sports gambling companies are very hard to use. They're ran by older people. Their marketing is all like very traditional. They're not like good at digital marketing or building a brand for themselves. And we wanted to make the best app easiest to use and connect with the next generation of sports fans. And really that's been the alpha and what has worked. And me and the CEO, Joey Levy, are the youngest two people in the United States with a gaming license. So we just have that understanding of the next generation and how to access these people and explain the product to them in an easy to understand way.
Also with W, that was a really interesting pivot that I noticed, like getting into hygiene.
Yeah.
I thought, like, what's the main goal there? What was the gap in the market that you wanted to fill?
Well, I mean, most people don't switch their deodorants. Like even still, people are probably like using like Axe or Old Spice or like Dove or Degree maybe. And these products like just aren't good for you. Hormone disruptors made with things that mess with your body, phthalates, artificial dyes, sulfates, the list goes on. I personally think some of the brands are like corny, and it was time for something new and a better product that stood for something, waking up and choosing to be a winner, getting W's, working hard. And that's where the brand idea came from, and being a better option and a better brand that the next generation can identify with and not being like still using Axe.
Yeah. You shouldn't be using if you're using Axe,
get W.
reconsider. Yeah.
Make the switch.
I'm curious, what are the best uses of money that you found so far? Like the best things to buy?
Venture capital investments. I mean, I've done great there. I've done great in crypto. I've done great in real estate. Like I got this house for 15.7. I could sell this for like overnight. Like a buyer would buy this in like for 25 tomorrow. So real estate.
What about luxuries that you just like for yourself? Like I noticed you
fun
recently
things?
got like you got a private jet.
I got it.
recently.
Well, I was gonna say a plane because it's like it's time, it's access, it's health. Honestly, like going to airports and all the people around, sicknesses going around, the refiltered air. Like if I'm sick for 5 days and I'm training for a fight, like how does that affect me? So all of these things that go into it, and just the freedom to be able to do what you want, business meetings, people hopping on the plane, being able to send the plane for other people to come do something, whatever it might be. So I think that's another really nice tool and lifesaver, because I like can't go to airports again unless I have like a full disguise on.
How often do you use the private jet?
I'm probably flying like 320 hours a year, probably, which is a lot, I think.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good amount.
I flew on my first private jet just a few days ago.
Oh,
We
yeah.
both
really?
did.
Yeah.
Ben Mala in Florida took us on his plane to go to Atlanta. And it was like having a time
It was
machine.
sweet.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the best.
Like,
And you're doing business, you're being creative, your whole team is there, you can get things done. And we have some of our best conversations and best hangouts on a plane.
Yeah.
So
Do you invest in stocks?
yeah, I'm with Morgan Stanley, and they do like all my traditional money management, and they've done a great job. So I have a diversified portfolio.
There you go. Index funds.
Stocks, crypto,
Nice.
venture capital, real estate, all the above.
What would you say have been the biggest waste of money you've spent your money on?
Also private plane. So
Okay.
it's like you're just like flushing money down the toilet, but I mean it's worth it. But it is one of those things where it's like,
do you ever have any anxiety about spending money?
yeah, for sure. Just because I've been in that place where I have the PTSD from like making a ton and then it all basically going down the drain. So I still for sure have anxiety and I hate it. And I also am like very tight with it. Like if I notice an expense, I look at all my expenses. So if I notice something and it's like a $200 difference or thing that I think looks too expensive, or some vendor charged me maybe a little bit more, I'm like, no. And I put my team on it and we'll like shave off literally like dollars. And
That's how
I
I would
look
be,
at
yeah.
every expense and like all that. So
I think
and
you
have
have
to.
to.
You have
Yeah.
to. And people, it's funny, like when you have money like this, like people just are like, well, you can spend it. You can do this. And it's like, no, the way you build money is by being stingy with it. So some things I don't give a about, and I'm like, sure. But other areas we like cut a lot of costs as much as possible.
We got some rapid fire questions right here to wrap this up. Would you rather invest in stocks or real estate?
Right now, stocks.
Who's more responsible with money, you or Logan?
I would say it's pretty even, actually.
Who's better at making money, you or Logan?
I'm better like at making money right now, but once he sells Prime for a couple
Okay,
billion,
yeah.
then he's gonna take the crown.
Why did you do an interview with a rooster on your head?
I'm El Gallo de Dorado is my given nickname here in the Puerto Rican streets, so I had to represent.
Who would win in a fight, you or 100 grams?
Oh man,
There's 100 of me, man.
I think
That's a
Climbing up you, like you gotta shake them off.
I honestly think I think I would still win, bro. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
100 of me.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, but I would, once I knocked out like 6, I could kind of build like a pile and like fight behind the pile, and then people
Use
would
them
like
as a
start.
shield.
Yeah,
Grab
that's
on the
what-
3.
No,
like, move 'em
seriously,
around.
seriously, I could be choking them out, and then you guys like couldn't. I don't know. It'd be close. It'd be close.
What's more difficult, getting rich or staying relevant?
Oh man, I think getting rich. The Island Boys are still out there cooking, man.
What's something that is truly surprising? I mean, that's true. He's not wrong. Actually, yeah, that's very true. What's something that's truly surprising how lucrative it is?
I think like self improvement and like being on a journey of meditation and like that whole world and the things that you uncover from that are pretty game changing.
What is a splurge that you have yet to buy?
I feel like I've bought almost everything.
You've bought everything.
I feel like maybe I definitely haven't gone and like drop. I think at some point I'll probably go and buy like a whole. I have a watch collection, but like I'll probably go and buy like 10 watches at some point.
What's the most you've ever spent in one night?
I think technically it's like the payment I made on the ranch or this house I bought in cash. That both of those were expensive.
Who had the best verse in It's Everyday, Bro?
I would say I would say Nick Crompton.
What's
I
the,
love
what's
that
the
line.
best bar in It's Everyday, Bro?
A lot of people don't know this, but I wrote Tessa Brooks' verse, and I think the best was yeah, I smell good. Is that your boy's cologne? That was a good.
That's
that was
clever.
a good part of the song.
England,
I like it.
that.
Well, so
to me-
actually, I wrote Nick's verse
of
too.
course you did. Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
So and bro, I swear to God, like I dropped out of high school and I didn't know that England was a country, and I thought England was the city. Like actually,
Was he fine? He was like, oh yeah, sure.
No, he thought I was joking, and that I genuinely like didn't know. But I'd never been there or like knew. I thought I just didn't know, bro.
And
We did all of this in 30 minutes. So I'm like, boom, boom, boom. England is my city. Boom, boom. Oh yeah, that's fire. Boom, boom, boom. And so I hand it to him, and he thought I knew that England wasn't a city and that it was just funny. And so he still said it, and then it just like turned into this whole thing.
Dude, I don't think you realize the impact that had on my life. Like that, I played that song probably 10 times a day
That's
for a
insane.
year straight,
No.
maybe with my friends. I would get my friends together and I would play it, and I would put on like compilations where it'd be playing for hours, and my friends would be like,
That's
I can't believe
hilarious.
because and Nick Crompton's verse, I
Yeah.
think, is just find me something better.
It's
Please.
amazing.
Please.
It was an era, bro. It really was an era.
And I hope his collar is still popping. That's the one thing.
It is.
Okay, good.
It is.
Jake, thank you so much
Thank
for coming
you.
on the show. This means a lot.
Of
And
course. Thanks for having
beautiful
me.
house.
Thank you, man.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. That was
Anytime
great.
you want a roommate.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
let us know.
There's room up here.
Thank you guys
There's
for
plenty
watching.
of room.
Until next time.